it sort of really doesn't matter where you're from, because it feels like with Wakelet, we're all using the same tool and we're all sharing ideas, and it just feels like one great big community, which is really nice. It's great to be part of.
Right, exactly. And doing these webinars just reminds me as well about how international it is. Like, I've joined webinars in the past in many different circumstances, but I've never ever seen so many people from so many different places in the world congregate in one place like this. It's always fantastic. We've got Batul. Batul has joined us again. We might as well start then, now that Batul is here. I wanted to just welcome everybody to this webinar. Thank you all so much for joining. I know that it's a strange and unusual time for everybody right now, but finding, an hour, 45 minutes out of your time to learn something new and hear these incredible stories and these incredible ways of using Wakelet from our community, we really appreciate it, and we want you to know that. And thank you to our incredible guests as well. So we'll be doing introductions shortly, but those of you who this is your first community showcase webinar, this is an ongoing monthly webinar, and what we do is we invite people from the community to basically showcase the ways that they're using Wakelet, share some tips and tricks, share some stories and some ideas. Anybody in the chat who feels like they'd like to be a part of this webinar in the future, please reach out to us. Just drop us an email at community@wakelet.com and just let us know what it is that you'd like to speak about. So let's begin with introductions. I'm going to start first with Batul, because Batul, we're a major fan of Batul at the Wakelet HQ. We love everything that she does on social media. Such an incredible young woman. And Batul, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. So, hola and bonjour everyone. I'm Batul Indar, a Wakelet Student Ambassador from India, and it's an indeed pleasure to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Batul. And next up, we've got Lee. Lee, tell the folks at home who you are and what you do.
So my name's Leah Moore. I'm a digital producer based in South Wales. I work at an FE college, so that's further education. And we've got over 800 staff and probably pushing 10,000 learners. And I'm also a Wakelet ambassador. And thanks so much for inviting me today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lee. And for those of you who don't know, Wales is one of the nicest places to go, in the world. It is an absolutely beautiful area of the world. We're very lucky in the UK to be so close to it. Growing up, most of my kind of local UK holidays were all in Wales. And yeah, it's an absolutely
It's very green, isn't it? It's very green.
Very lush, very green. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Next up, we've got Sumeda. Hey, Sumeda. Let the folks at home know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Sumedha Soti, and I'm high school educator at Elcon International School, Delhi, India. I'm an EdTech enthusiast. I'm so excited today to share with everyone that how technology has helped me to stay connected with my students. And Wakelet is one of the tools which helped me to curate resources to engage my students in the remote learning. The app smashing and integration with the other EdTech platforms have added power to the Wakelet and helped me to cater to the diverse needs of my learners and incorporate universal learning design into my curriculum. So I started using Wakelet last year during the pandemic, and simply I was stunned to see the features and the support it provided in making learning accessible to all the learners. So looking forward to sharing my experiences today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sumeda. Really appreciate it. So these webinars are usually very informal. So as we go along and as our incredible guests talk about their experiences with Wakelet, please feel free to contribute in the chat. If you have any ideas, it's always better to share them. Who likes to keep ideas to themselves? Just share them. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask our guests as well, feel free to do that in the chat as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump right in. We're going to start with Sumeda. So Sumeda, tell us a little bit about what you love about Wakelet. Tell us about how you're using it. And yeah, I'm really excited as well to hear this.
Okay, so please allow me to share my screen.
Of course, if you just click the share screen button, it should work for you. I'm sure that you have the permission.
It's working. I'm just sharing my screen.
I'll let you know when we can see it.
Is it visible? Can you just confirm if you can see my screen?
It looks like it's just taking a second to catch up. Bear with me a second. Unless Lee or Batul can see it.
It's just a black screen for me right now. But it's saying you've started.
Ah,
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
we
now
go.
it's
Okay.
visible.
I can see it now. Yes,
Is it?
perfect.
So good morning and good evening from whichever part of the world you are joining in. I'm very excited to share my experiences of using Wakelet in my classroom with everyone here. So I would like to showcase my work. Just a second, my presentation is taking a bit to load.
You know what I love so much about doing things live is that it's like when you have something funny on your phone that you want to share somebody, and then as soon like your phone works perfectly. As soon as you go to show somebody the funny video, it starts to buffer and load. It happens every time.
So here it is. I hope all of you can see my screen. Nesba, can you confirm? Is it
Yes, we
visible?
can see it.
Okay. So I would like to start with my introduction. So as I told you, I'm an EdTech enthusiast and I love integrating technology and create an environment where students can live, work and play in the technology-driven work. So how I started integrating technology into education, I would like to give you some glimpses. So first of all, I used Wakelet as a source to curate the community resources and explore local and global challenges with my students. So starting with projects like Climate Action Project, it really helped me and my learners to study about the global challenges. And with the help of Wakelet, we were able to curate resources which were being crafted by the students and also the classroom collaboration that we have done. So here is a Wakelet collection showcasing how I was able to curate resources, the videos which were made by my students, the meetings that we used to have with our students, the tweets which we used to have during our presentations, the classroom collaboration. So at one particular place, I was able to document everything, and this was only possible because of the Wakelet. Otherwise, it's very difficult to curate resources and refer to them back again. The second important way where I am using Wakelet is for customizing the learning environment for my students. So I believe in giving a flexible assessment to my students where my students choose that what kind of learning evaluation method they want to opt for, whether they want to get evaluated for music or for puppet making or for drawing or for ICT driven projects. And because of Wakelet, this was possible to collect all the evidences and project of the students. So simply I created collection for my students, which I named as multiple assessment project. And I invited my students through the invite code in Wakelet, and my students added their project, which they have created as a part of their multiple assessment activities. So if Wakelet would not have been there, this kind of collaboration and this kind of compiling of the work done by my students was quite impossible. So this was a financial literacy activity that we have done. Students created posters on Canva and simply added in the Wakelet collection where I invited them. Students created, since I'm a social science educator, so students created timeline, digital timeline, and they added in the Wakelet collection. So based on the multiple intelligence and nature of the child chose the assessment parameter and simply added into the Wakelet collection. And without Wakelet, this kind of collection and this kind of flexible learning atmosphere was quite impossible for the learners as well as me, for me to curate so many resources. Another example from my classroom I would like to share is that Wakelet helped us to broaden the mutual understanding and classroom learning through classroom collaboration. So during the pandemic, I collaborated with many global educators on different themes like Climate Action Project, the Goals Project by Ms. Jennifer Williams and Cohen Trimmers. Similarly, with the DITSIT Institute USA, talking about the important digital skills value. So Wakelet helped us to create newsletters, and my students worked upon this project, submitting their proposal, submitting their ideas, submitting their projects, submitting their videos. It was quite possible for all of us to collaborate in this kind of project-based learning only because we had this platform where we can integrate so much of multimedia. We had the recording of each and every Microsoft Teams meeting that we have done for the students to refer back to it later on. And these are the projects which were created by students on different edtech tools. So our project was about that we chose 17 SDGs integrated with 17 edtech tools, and Wakelet was one of the tools which we have taken to showcase our learning during the project. Another example of my classroom collaboration for Wakelet is Wakelet Spaces. So in our country, the written work, the notes prepared by the students are really important and which are checked by the educators on daily basis. But during the pandemic, my students were not there in the classroom and I was not able to see whether they were preparing notes or they were writing the important topic. So I used the feature Wakelet Space, which was introduced, and my students created their digital registers in the Wakelet Space. So here you can see all my students created their own collection in the Wakelet Space, and whatever chapter we have done in the classroom, they created and they added their notes in the collection. So which helped them later to refer it back during the examination or during the revision of the resources. They have put each and every PDF of the notes that they have prepared. Similarly, all the students for all the section, this Wakelet Space was a great boon for me as an educator to collaborate with my students. We were blessed to have Misbah as our guest for the podcast channel that I have recently started only 6 months back. That is Edu Rockstar Talks. So the Wakelet team was very generous to come as a guest, and we talked about that how Wakelet is an incredible tool in the classroom. So you can follow my podcast channel and listen to this episode that will give you a glimpse of how Wakelet has added a spark to the remote learning and how it is such a useful tool. Another way I am using Wakelet is to foster the student agency. So my students who have become the Wakelet ambassador, they are now taking the sessions, the PD sessions for other students. They are running student-led clubs. And one of the students here of grade 10, Tanmay Gupta, he's the student ambassador of Wakelet. He is taking sessions for other students to introduce that how they can use Wakelet to integrate their learning and their resources. Another student ambassador of my school is Somil Segal. He has started his own app, mobile app, Let's Help Each Other. And with the help of Wakelet, he is curating resources for his app building and whatever resources he wants to share with the community, he is using Wakelet for the same purpose. So not only teachers, even the students are getting empowered because of the Wakelet. One of the important technique for any classroom pedagogy is the lesson planning. So Wakelet has helped us to create lesson plans which are really child friendly, and we are able to share these lesson plans with our students. With the help of these lesson plans, we are able to integrate different multimedia and share the resources with the students even if they have missed the class or they were not able to connect due to poor connectivity of internet. They did not lose anything because every kind of resource is added to the Wakelet lesson plan. So whether it has to be shared with the school colleagues, and being the head of the department, it is my responsibility to share the lesson plan with all the teachers who are part of my team. So I use Wakelet to connect with them. Similarly, for project-based learning, adding the resources to the Wakelet collection was very, very easy for the students. So students were given projects to be developed on Adobe Spark, talking about the sustainable development goals. After creating their resources, students have added their projects themselves by inviting them. We share the invite code with them through this button invite. So as we clicked on the invite button, there were three options given to us. One is copy link or copy the code or share this QR code. So I shared these links with my students and they are invited to share their projects in the Wakelet collection. So this is one of the homework project which students of grade 10 have created on Adobe Spark, and the topic was sustainable development goals. So this kind of app smashing, which Wakelet allows, really is a very powerful thing, which helps students to submit their work digitally, even in the virtual environment when they cannot meet the teacher. It was possible for the students to showcase their work to the entire community. And since this project was a multidisciplinary project where all the subjects have chosen one particular theme and students were given different tasks to be created or related to SDGs. So simply they have added into the Wakelet collection, and with the link, with the Wakelet link, easily it was shared with all the teachers of different department, and the assessment became so very easy and comfortable for the teachers to assess the learner without thinking of the overloading of the Google Drive or overloading of the WhatsApp or the mobile data. So this makes Wakelet really powerful, and were the teams of students who created this collection in the Adobe Spark and added it to the Wakelet page. Similarly, talking about the real world issues and problems, so we give a lot of collaborative projects to students where they have to showcase their work, like I have shown you in the Wakelet space. The Wakelet space, we have created so many projects like there is a holy river in India called River Ganges. So we have done a project in which we were talking about the Clean Ganga project. So this was one of the club activities which were done where all the students were invited to share their research work and to share how and what steps they can take to make River Ganga clean. So all the students have added their own ideas and created their own collection in the Wakelet space, which was not at all possible if Wakelet would have not been there. So that gives a lot of power to me as an educator and for my students as learner. Another example I would like to share is that I keep on doing a lot of Twitter chats for global collaboration with the educators. And with the help of Wakelet, I'm able to save those resources because Wakelet, just as a click of a mouse, save all the tweets which can be referred later on to write reflections or to write research papers or to reflect back on. So with the help of Wakelet, I save the important tweets and all the chats which I can refer to later on. And these are the resources which I can use for my own professional development and also for developing the ideas in the community and empowering them. So these kind of app smashing which the Wakelet is providing has really helped me to go extra miles and to do something extraordinary, which was not possible before when I did not know about Wakelet. Because these are the memories which I can refer to any time and any day. I don't have to go to Twitter every time and search for my old tweets because I have created all the collection here in my Wakelet space. And since there is no problem of the space restriction, so it is very powerful to refer it back to. Another example of the Wakelet I would like to show is that it has really given me the power to create my own digital portfolio. So I take a lot of webinar session for teachers and PD sessions. So it has really helped me to curate my own digital portfolio. So I would like to show you a glimpse of how I have created a digital portfolio of my own achievements. And now I'm proud to say that it has over 140 items. So whenever I have to apply for some award or I have to share my professional development with my school educators and my community, so it's quite easy for me. Either I can download it as a PDF or I can simply share it as a link. So all the digital badges that I have earned last year, all the kinds of creative webinars that I have taken for the educators, everything I have saved in my digital portfolio, which is really giving me power to showcase my work to the community. So I am really fond of this kind of collection which I have created, and all the awards that I have won, all the podcast episodes that I have launched, everything is saved in one space. I don't have to look for anything because I simply have to go to Wakelet and create a link. And anytime I want to share it with someone, Wakelet gives me the power to share it in a moment, in a second. So these digital badges, the kind of webinars that I take, all the collections that I have created, I have embedded the collections into this my achievement digital portfolio. Similarly, I have added the video recordings of all the webinar sessions that I have taken, all the certificates which I have earned. This really gives me the power to share it. So these are the links of all the webinars that I have taken. Over above 50 webinars I have taken in the last year on different edtech tools. So that gives me a lot of power, and every time I have to share my achievements, it is just a click of the mouse that I can share. It's only possible because of the Wakelet. Another beautiful program which the Wakelet offers is the Student Ambassador Program. So almost till now, 5 to 6 students of mine have completed this program that has really helped them to develop 21st century skills like critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And now they have started training the other students and they have become the peer mentors. So running a peer mentoring club has given us a lot of power to integrate the digital citizenship skills into our curriculum, where students are taking a lot of efforts to create the other peer mentors. So this is how I have integrated Wakelet into my teaching, into my curriculum, which has really given me the power to give a voice and choice to my students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sameda. That was absolutely incredible. I know that there was a slight bandwidth issue. Some of the things are coming out a little bit pixelated, but I think everybody could see that the work that you've done there is absolutely fantastic. I loved how you initially started with using Wakelet just very, very simply to curate resources. I think that a lot of teachers, one of the things which I just want to say to a lot of educators is that when you join the community and you see all these amazing, impressive things that educators are doing, just know that they all started with that simple concept of just curating resources, just being able to put things into one place, to grab little bits of mixed media and put them all into one place and organize them in a way that makes sense. I love that. I also love the emphasis on customized learning, on this idea of student choice. I personally, like, I immediately think about what I was like in school, and I would have loved to have had more choice over the way that I did things, the way that I learned things, because you're best at what you enjoy at the end of the day. And, you know, if you're given something that you don't necessarily enjoy, sure, it takes discipline to be good at it, but it's always easier when you enjoy a certain way of doing things. Again, the emphasis on collaboration. I know that, you know, in the last few years, we've really focused on collaboration, bringing out spaces and our collaborative feature on collections and things like that. So it's amazing to see you showcase some of that stuff. And also the student leadership element as well. Like we have a student ambassador joining us today, Batul, and I think, you know, she's a great example of a student leader. This idea that, you know, through using Wakelet, through the student ambassador program, you can, you know, empower student leadership and even allow your students to create their own micro communities within the school. So love that. And then lastly, the idea of showcasing. I think that, you know, Wakelet works so well on many different levels. And yes, of course I'm biased, but it really does, because I use it personally for me to just kind of curate the things that I want to save and that I don't want to lose, whether it's a tweet or a podcast or a video, whatever it might be. But then on the outside as well, there's that idea of being able to showcase the things that I've done and the things that I'm passionate about. And, you know, we're seeing more and more educators and students using Wakelet as a digital portfolio. So it was amazing that you shared that. And I'd love for you, Samita, to share your profile in the chat as well, because I'm sure everybody will be really interested in seeing that. Thank you so much. That was incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we've got Lee. Lee, welcome. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you're using Wakelet. Tough act to follow though with
I
Sumedha.
know,
That was
I know.
incredible.
Scared
No
now.
pressure.
If it's okay with you, I'd like to share my screen too.
Of course, go right ahead.
Okay. Okay,
Yep, perfect. We can see that.
great. Just move the Zoom. Okay, so I'm super excited, everyone, to join you all today. I've prepared this little mini presentation, and then at the end, I'll walk through some examples of where we've used Wakelet across the college. So my theme today is making an impact with Wakelet. And hopefully we're all here today because we love Wakelet. So hopefully I'll just give you some ideas. So I'm approaching this today from a slightly different viewpoint. So I'm not an educator myself, I'm a digital developer. So in my role, I create content for learners. And I also work with staff and to help them level up their own resources. So it's a bit of a different approach for me. And as part of this, I also produce guidance and standards around digital learning. So first up, I'd like to just show you how I use Wakelet. And to be honest, it's pretty bog standard. It's nothing as fancy as the last speaker. So it's literally, I just use it to organize my ideas. I use it for note taking and just kind of literally a brain dump. And that's where the Wakelet extension within Google Chrome is really useful, because if you just see something, whether it's a tweet or whether it's an article, you can just hit that little W and it'll go into whichever collection you choose. So it's a huge time saver. Now, moving into like my professional use, it really has become, like I started using this like 2 years ago now, and it really has become my go-to tool for producing resources for staff. And probably the reason I reach for Wakelet over other tools is because, probably for the same reasons that you guys do, it's quick, it's super quick. I know that the resources I make will be accessible. It's really flexible, it's media rich. I can pull in a load of different multimedia types of content into it. And I just love the visual effect that you get at the end of it. So not a lot of work goes into creating that visually, but it just automatically does the job for me, and I love that. And on the right there, you've got an example, well, that's my kind of Wakelet hub page. So before so I'd like to show you how I introduce Wakelet to staff now. And the approach we'd kind of, well, the approach that normally we take as, you know, selfishly as authors, we think, you know, it's flexible, it's an easy interface for me to use, it's accessible, it's easy, and it's super quick. So we always go for that convenience, I think, as authors. And I'd like to share some examples now, if I can. So here's my Wakelet hub page. If you just scroll through. So if you notice here, in terms of creating a look and feel, I've kept it really quite consistent. So, and that's quite simple. I've just made a kind of color scheme, and then I kind of group them together. So if I look into one of these examples, and this is how I showcase the functions really of Wakelet. So I've created this, and it's a kind of a bit of a show and tell for staff. So I would share this with them as a kind of a demonstration area. So as I'm going through, I'm sort of telling a story and encouraging staff to try the different functions. So here you go. So try recording a video. And then I've got an example in there. Try adding links. And then I'm comparing the differences between a regular link and a Wakelet link, and how much nicer they look. And so forth. It kind of walks you through the process. Another way I share with staff is using SharePoint. So I've got a dedicated page devoted to Wakelet. And on this page, I've got an intro video to get people started. I've got some related articles to help people, give them some ideas and inspiration. And I've also got these kind of genially content here, which is basically just a screen grab of the user interface. And then if I click into any of these hotspots, a little pop-up should show. I can see that's lagging a little bit. So there you go. So I'll just show you there. There you go. So just to give the user a bit more information about different elements on the user face interface. And then there's also some guidance around, creating a user-friendly Wakelet, what makes great digital content, planning your learner experience, as well as linking out to the Wakelet official guide and how to embed a Wakelet into Canvas, which is our college learning management system. So that's our kind of dedicated hub page there for staff. Okay. Going to go full screen again, sorry. So very much so, it's completely flexible for authors and it's really quick and easy. But what I'd like to do is actually give you an example of how if we flip this and actually think about it from a learner point of view, and it's all about the end user at the end of the day. So if we start with empathy here and put our learners' needs first, it's really worth pausing and asking yourself these questions before diving in, even to create a really simple Wakelet. It's worth just pausing and thinking about these questions. So what does the learner need from this resource? Why am I making this? Like, what's the end goal here? When do I need to do it by? And I know this is a common one with teaching staff, like often they're very short on time. How will my learner engage with this learning object? So is it going to be via a link that I share in a chat, or is it going to be embedded in a learning management system? And lastly, what will success look like for this resource? It's always worth asking these questions before you dive in. So I'm going to show you now this. I mean, I'm probably preaching to the converted here. I know we all love Wakelet. So, but this is kind of an example of how I share the benefits of Wakelet with staff. So I've got some little comparisons here. So first up, Word. So let's pretend we're sharing a resource, a reading list with learners. And let's be honest, that example of Word on the left-hand side there doesn't look that inviting, does it? It's not particularly welcoming. It looks quite flat, not particularly inviting for learners. We don't know how adaptive that is for mobile or how accessible it is. And I would even really pause now and ask, is this even functional? Because if I was a learner and thinking about the end result of this resource, we want them to get those books out of the library. So for them, in order to place a hold on those books, they would need to go to the library website, type it out. And so it's really not even functional in my view. And now let's compare with Wakelet. So here, the Wakelet's there on the right-hand side, and we can see straight up, it's visually engaging, it's media rich, we know Wakelet is adaptive for mobile. It's fully accessible. We can see the immersive reader there on the left-hand side, and it's user-friendly. So, I mean, the two speak for themselves really there. So now I'd just like to show some examples of how college staff have used Wakelet, particularly since lockdown. So I'm just going to minimize here. So first up is the counselling team in the college. So during the 2020 lockdown, our college team of counsellors had to transition to 100% remote support. And that meant that obviously they needed some kind of hub to put this support in one place. So if we look at this example here, it's a welcoming, friendly, it's accessible, and they've got their referral forms for all the different campuses in one place. And they're also signposting out to some resources that they've made digitally, and these are book creator examples. And they've also signposted out to external resources. So this was a really, really quick turnaround on this, and it enabled the team to provide remote support during lockdown. So if I head back to my, so here's a quote from the counselling team. We wanted an easy, accessible place for our clients to access referral forms and counselling resources. And with Wakelet, we were able to create a resource that was inclusive to all. And that does what it says on the tin there. I've got another example here, and this time it's a college tutor. I use Wakelet to put my links and videos in one place so my learners can access easily via Canvas, our learning management system. I just paste the links in and Wakelet does the rest. It looks very professional and engaging. And I would agree. I've got an example here of illegal transoceanic flows. And I mean, these are linking out to articles, and blogs and clips as well, and it's all in one place, and it just looks so inviting and engaging, and I love that. And what I want to just show you now is how this looks within our learning management system. So this is an A-level resource for our A-level learners for geography. So here, this is it within the Canvas page. And you can see there that the tutor, Glyn, who's actually here on the call, he's opted to have a dark background for his Wakelet. And that's what I really love about the flexibility of the embed tool, that you can customize, you can decide whether or not you want the header in there, whether you want the image in, or whether you want a light or dark background, and that's great. Okay, so next example, the library team. Now, the library team over lockdown, they literally just started working on a huge project, which was to create resources for every course within the college, and there are hundreds. So what they started to do was use Wakelet to kind of curate and pull in all of the relevant resources within their library system. And it's colossal. I think there's over 200 right now. And I'll just zip over and show you that. So here you go. This is, so they started making these resources, funnily enough, during lockdown, obviously, but then Spaces launched. So Spaces was the perfect sort of vehicle for this, because we did find there were some frustrations when we couldn't edit each other's collections. Like if someone was away off sick, we weren't able to edit each other's without being invited to and things. So when Spaces came along, we were able to really audit that. We were able to give certain members of the team access to edit everything as admins, and it really sort of opened this up again to be so much more user-friendly for us. And now we've got a huge bank of resources that can be embedded into Canvas LMS. And the reason you see here this double is because what they've done is create a learner-facing version and a teacher-facing version. So there's slightly different elements for each. Another example here I'd love to share with you. Oh, so this is an example of one of those, actually, sorry. So it's World Autism Week next week. So the library team have pulled together all of the relevant articles, internal resources that they've purchased, all within one collection alongside videos and podcasts and so on. And it's, you know, it's really given the team an enhanced flexibility doing this online, because previously this might have been something like in the physical world that they might have maybe done a book display on and maybe a poster or something within the library space. And now look how powerful this is. They can create a collection like this that they can probably use every year now and just keep building on it. But to have that power then to just set it free out into the world is fantastic. So another example, oops, sorry, my just need to, here we go. So another example from the library team is they quickly latched onto the power of Wakelet, and they wanted to use it to create a welcome newsletter. So a kind of induction for new learners at the college. And for this, you know, it's been particularly useful since lockdown in order to guide learners to what services are available during lockdown and whatnot. So, you know, we've got video resources we've created, and we've also produced some 360 tours of the library spaces. And this is where it gets a bit meta, because we've got a Wakelet collection within a Wakelet. I don't know if anyone else has ever done this, but I would heartily recommend it, because it sounds way more complicated than it is. But all we're doing here is literally adding a link to another Wakelet collection. And so here, if I click onto that, this is all of the libraries. So there's 5 campuses. So there's 5 different libraries at the college. And if I click on that, they get a 360 tour. So the learner can go onto that and see, you know, find out a little bit more about the library. So it's a really powerful way of bringing everything together in that sort of multimedia approach. Yeah, I would say, well, I just wanted to share as well, we've had really positive feedback from learners around this as well, because I think for learners, this has proved quite reassuring to have that guidance up front, so they know what like, for example, here, we've got the COVID guidance there around keeping those spaces safe. So we were able to share that remotely in advance of them visiting the site. So that's really reassuring for our learners. Next up, another example. I know I'm throwing all these different examples at you. This one's the marketing team. So my colleague there said Wakelet's been an easy to use, effective tool, which has allowed us to organise our content into clear collections. It's been a great way to display content in a visual and informative way. Now, I think how I recommended this tool to them is, with Wakelet to them, was to curate their campaigns. So I know that they put a lot of, they obviously have a lot of graphics that they produce, they have videos that they produce, and they also have kind of social media accounts that they put their campaigns out on. So I wanted to just show you this example here, which is one of their campaigns, which was around equality, diversity and inclusion. So what they've done here is they've grouped together images, videos, and just news articles and things that they've produced around this subject. And this is great, again, because this is legacy stuff. They can put all of this stuff together in one place, and whether it's, you know, a management asking about a particular campaign, they've got this now at their fingertips, rather than having to sort of send multiple links in an email. And it's a really lovely visual way, you know, so I'm really pleased with how they're using the tool. Last up, this is the last example, independent living skills. So our independent living skills course is for learners with additional needs that might need help to gain those living skills to be independent in life. So during lockdown, it was particularly challenging for the tutors, because these learners possibly might not be able to effectively interact with our traditional learning platform, Canvas, and without training, and it was really hard to work out how to do that around lockdown. So what they did was they used Wakelet as a temporary measure throughout the summer to curate a kind of like virtual tour of the campus, because they identified that these particular learners would definitely have anxiety around the new spaces, and basically to create these use the 360 tours essentially to guide and help them become familiar with the spaces and how to find their classrooms and things like that in advance of even setting foot in the door of the college. So throughout the summer, we created this collection here. and it's very stripped back. It's no bells and whistles here, but it's doing the job. So it's Mike Roski's college tour, and then equally each one. Sorry, that's my cat. Each one is linking out to a 360 tour of the space, exactly like the library example I showed earlier. So there you go. So each one has that space. So that learner who might feel anxious about setting foot in an unfamiliar space is able to engage with that collection of Wakelet and really be guided through that experience. So there we go. So, sorry, on that note, I think my cat wants me to stop. That's the end. And I'll stop sharing now.
It's just an extremely adorable end to your your presentation. Your cat knew when it was time.
She said, please stop, please stop.
I love how needy cats are. It's incredible. So Lee, that was amazing. Honestly, thank you so much. You showed like a complete 360 top down, left to right idea of how Wakelet can be implemented not only within education and pedagogy, but also in the administrative side of things as well, which I think a lot of people miss. Wakelet's being used by like the World Health Organization. It's being used by like sports teams and football clubs and things like that as well. So there is this admin level of just being able to share information outside of the educational part, which I think you touched on, which was amazing. I also loved how...
The thing just to pick up on that, the thing I really love is that for me, it makes my job quite easy because it doesn't really need that much facilitating. It kind of does what it says on the tin. So I think most people could just literally create an account and then they just play around and see some examples like the ones we saw earlier, and that you're kind of good to go, aren't you?
Exactly. It all just starts with the idea of creating your first collection, and then the ideas just compound on top of each other, and then before you know it, you've got these incredible ideas that you can use in practice that are really, really practical. I liked how you use Wakelet as like building blocks as well, so using collections as building blocks to try and get a message across. I love that quote where you said always start with empathy. I think that's something that we all need to do, whether we're an educator or not. We do it a lot when it comes to Wakelet, when we're talking about our features and things that we're doing with the community. Is really asking ourselves, like, why are we doing this? What does success look like? What is our community going to get out of this? It's really nice to remind yourself about that sometimes and be
because if
mindful
you
about
don't,
it.
you can make the best collection in the world, but if it's not doing the task that it's set to do, then it's completely pointless, really, isn't
Right,
it?
exactly. I loved how you kind of dipped into the inclusivity, how engaging and accessible Wakelet is as well. We're doing some amazing things with Microsoft with the immersive reader to kind of build a more robust and a more accessible Wakelet for everybody. And also the embedding feature as well, being able to embed collections into your LMS, your website, that kind of thing. Those are things which a lot of people miss when they just first start Wakelet. But yeah, any collection that you create can be embedded into your LMS platform if you want to keep your students in one place. Thank you so much for that presentation, Lee. That was absolutely incredible. Really appreciate it. It was incredible.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got Batul, one of our student ambassadors. Hey, Batul, welcome. Feel free to start.
Thank you so much. So I'll just share my screen, just a second.
Don't worry, I'll let you know if when we can see it. That should be the quote of 2020, 2021. Can you see my screen? That's the mantra. I think we can see it. It will start in just a few seconds, I think, Batul. Bear with me.
Yeah, just a second. I can't. Oh, okay. I hope my screen is visible. Is it?
And not just yet. No, I think if we just give it a few more seconds, it should start. It could be a bandwidth issue, but just bear with me. Well, I don't say bear with me. I mean, I'm not in control of it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just waiting along with everybody else. There we go. Okay, it's popped up. We can see it now. It looks perfect.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here. Hola and bonjour everyone. I'm Batul Alamdar, a Wakelet student ambassador and a grade 9 student from India. I'm a tech enthusiast and coach, and I love discovering new tech tools every time I'm on my laptop or any other device. So talking about Wakelet, I started my journey around 10 months ago the month of August 2020. I believe that creativity is the superpower of each of us present in 21st century, because if you have that skill, you can do whatever you wish. I started my journey in August. I got to know about Wakelet from my mom. She was a community leader at that time. Right now she's an ambassador. So I attended a webinar by Miss Van James. They were introducing Wakelet, and that time I got I stepped into the tech world, and Wakelet was the first ever tech tool that I heard of. So it was like a very fun time. And just as soon as the webinar ended, I created my first ever collection that was a virtual trip. So this is something that I love to do on Wakelet. I create virtual trips to make my colleagues feel happy, because during this lockdown, many of them were not able to visit any of the places. They were sitting at home getting bored. So I thought, let's make them happy by taking them on a virtual tour. So this was my first ever collection, virtual trip. Let me just show that collection. So in this collection, there are environmental friendly places from India. Some of the places are like Maulinang and other stuff. They are very environmental friendly, and many of us actually didn't know about them. So learning about new cities, places makes it more engaging, interactive, and that's why I love creating virtual trips. This was my first ever collection. After that, I created more and more virtual trips.
Hold on to that just for a moment, Batul, because I think that we didn't actually see it. Yeah, and maybe if you just hit refresh, I think what's happening is the screen capture is lagging, like it's being a little bit slow. But I really want to see this because all we saw was a blank screen. So let's wait and see.
Second, I think I have like so many tabs on. I think that's the issue.
You should be using Wakelet for them.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, is it visible now?
Yes, it's visible now. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for letting me know. So this was my first ever collection, a virtual trip. It's kind of basic because at that time I was a newbie to Wakelet. I didn't know all the features like adding videos, tweets, and all the stuff. So I just added like heading, and that too not centered aligned, because I was not knowing about all these features at that time. So I started exploring Wakelet, seeing all the collections from the community, and I learned all the things. And now I am proud to say myself as a student ambassador. So you can see there are images and title only right now in this virtual trip, but many other virtual trips have like image videos, YouTube videos, Flipgrid videos, links to sites, and many more stuff. So this is my Wakelet profile. You can check that out at Patul Viramdar Prep 106. So right now here you can see at the top is my digital portfolio, which is something that I like a lot. Nowadays, no one asks for, a hard copy of your resume, like a paper sheet or something. They ask for your digital portfolio. And to make this more interactive, use Wakelet. That's my suggestion. So I created my digital portfolio using the feature of sections in your profile. So I like created 3 Wakelet collections. As you can see, my trips around India. I'm a travel holic. So, and I even like to write poems and quotes. So I created a collection of my poetic world. And finally, my resume, which contains all about me. So in this way, this was my digital portfolio. Talking about this, I'll show one of the collections in my digital portfolio, which is my resume. In this resume, as you can see, wait a second. Okay. So you can add GIFs to your background, which makes it more interactive. And I like using GIFs a lot. So here is some information about me. I made my resume in the form of an image using Canva, added it here. Then my YouTube channel called Tech Teens. Then my hobbies like writing poems, playing basketball all at once in my digital portfolio. So in this way, you can make your digital portfolios more engaging, interactive, and amazing using Wakelet. So then the next thing is that I loved doing the student ambassador program. I officially became a student ambassador program in the month of October 2020. So during that time, my guide teacher, Alifia ma'am, aka my mom. She guided me through all the tasks with other some of my colleagues, and we enjoyed doing the Wakelet Student Ambassador program. So we created collections, did all the tasks. Now, what is the thing that I like about Wakelet Student Ambassador? So I developed so many skills. Before doing the Student Ambassador program, I literally didn't knew about these words. Like the first time I heard the word curation, I was like, what does this mean? And now, as I have developed those skills, I feel yes, now I know who I am. I have developed those skills. So I developed the skills of curation, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and citizenship by doing the student ambassador program. This is an amazing opportunity for all the students to develop these skills, because it is proven that these skills can be developed more in a more good way via PBL, that is project based learning, and Wakelet helps do that. So why not to do? So I created my Wakelet Student Ambassador collections, all the tasks, and added it in one collection and then shared it with my colleagues, so that they also get to know about Wakelet Student Ambassador, and they also like be the student ambassador. And now I have so many of my friends in the student ambassador community that I feel like it's really amazing. The next thing that I like to do is creating clubs. So this is something I started like 2 months ago, something, and I created a creativity club in which me and my colleagues and my teachers together came to showcase our creative talents. So using the feature of collaboration, you can create such clubs. Even a template for this is available on the Wakelet templates page. You can just head out to Wakelet templates page and check out this collection of Clubhouse template. Give me a second.
When this happens, Batul, I click the cross button and then I click refresh. Oh no, here we go. It's loading. Looks like it's loading.
This happens like every
It's
time. I
lovely.
have to like wait until it loads. Okay, let it load and I'll get back to that. So this creativity club was very fun. We engaged ourselves in activities like introducing ourselves. So how we introduced is we made our Flipgrid videos in a Flipgrid activity by our guide teacher. So there we added all our videos. I was actually going to add it here, but I don't know what happened and I missed it. But after that, we all introduced ourselves, like adding emojis and our small introduction. Then in the Fun Day 2 activity, we shared our collections, like what collections have we made and which are favorites. Like Diwali celebration, this festival in India, it's very well known. So one of my colleagues made that collection and shared it. In this way, we created a club which is called as Creativity Club, and now this is okay. Now it's available. So on Wakelet templates page, it is available as a template too. You can head out, copy the collection, and make your own clubs. You can even use the feature of spaces to create clubs. So in this way, it gets more interactive. More and more of your friends and teachers and colleagues join using Wakelet and grow the community, it will be way more awesome. The next thing that I like to do on Wakelet yes, is creating albums. So albums are something like memories that I like to store a lot. So nowadays, as we are all coming online, so all the memories are in the forms of screenshot rather than taking selfies. So the screenshots of all the webinars are added in the form of an album. So on my screen right now, here's a beginner's guide to Wakelet webinar moments collection. So around 2 months back, we had this beginner's guide to Wakelet webinar, which I attended. And there were many participants coming over there asking for the recording of the webinar. As it was said that recordings will be provided, but I felt that to share it with my colleagues, I'll share them in the form of screenshots. But rather than just sharing them the screenshots, why not to share everything together in a Wakelet collection? So I created an album. Over here, you can see many other Wakelet community members and other teachers, students added their screenshots of the webinar here to share how they enjoyed the webinar. Even they added some of their profiles of Twitter, Facebook, and other stuff, as you can see. So in this way, you can create your albums, share it with your colleagues about the memories that you have, or you can store your memories in the form of Wakelet collections. Like, just for an example, if you had a festival like Christmas, so you can share all your Christmas images. You can add them in a collection, store them as much for a long time. Okay, so it's like one of the things that I love to do. So not only that, but I also like to create notes. So nowadays the new normal is online. So even studies were getting bored. Like, I personally didn't like the way that there was no like engaging environment in our school in online learning. But after getting to know about Wakelet, I thought, let's make it more amazing. Let's share this with others. After doing that, in my school sessions, I used to do like I have like my diary with me, a pen and paper diary, and I used to note down each and everything. But as soon as I got like a a ray of hope, a light bulb sparked in my mind, and at that time I got an idea that why not to add all the notes in a Wakelet collection. So I had my one tab open of my online classes and one tab of my Wakelet collection. So here is my collection of my physics notes of revision, like of chapter motion and forces laws of motion. And here you can see there are screenshots of some like notes, like information and definitions and formulas. And then I have a YouTube video, like it's a playlist containing all the information, and a website from where I took the notes and some more information. Then I shared this collection with my colleagues who were not attending their classes, and they felt so fantastic that I want to know about Wakelet now. Why are you doing this? So I started conducting webinars to introduce Wakelet to students, and I really feel proud to say that I have started my own series of webinars called as Wakelet Wonderland Journey, where I take all of you to a journey to serve the Wakelet wave. So you can get to know more about that on my Twitter handle. Other than that, this is something that I like to do a lot. So as I was saying, virtual trips, you can head to my Wakelet profile to know more about that. I have created till now like 4 to 5 virtual trips, and I want to make more in my future. So I'll show one of my virtual trips. Just a second. Just to ask, Ms. Ba, is my Wakelet profile visible?
No, it's not. It's not visible now. I think that there's a delay between the screen
I
sharing.
don't know.
It's okay though. You can share that. You can share your profile in the chat afterwards, Batul. I'm sure people are waiting for it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's some issue. I don't know what happened. So you can just head to my Wakelet profile at Batul Alamdar Crab 106 to watch all my virtual trips, all my collections. And this was how I actually love using Wakelet. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Batul. That was absolutely incredible. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of that stuff. Batul's one of like the most active people in the community that I know. Let me just take the screen share from you real quick. Bear me a second. Okay, can everybody see my screen here?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, great. There's something happening with Zoom today. Something's going strange. I don't know. My computer seems to be freezing up as well. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing and keep it safe. Okay, I'll share that later. Batul, thank you so much. There were some incredible things that you shared there. I love the digital portfolio angle. I'm sure everybody would love to see you share your profile in the chat. So please go ahead and do that. I'm sure everyone's really waiting to see that. The student ambassador program, honestly, Batul is like the perfect example of what you can achieve when you enroll your students in the student ambassador program. It's all about student leadership. It's all about empowering your students to do amazing things. And it's really easy to to enroll your students as well. I'll share the link again just before we go. I am conscious of the time, by the way. I know that we have gone like 10 minutes over, but don't worry, we'll end this very, very soon, don't worry. Another thing I want to say about Batul is that you're really, really active in the Wakelet community, and you really embody that community spirit. Community is literally everything to us at Wakelet. So if you go to community.wakelet.com, you can join the Wakelet community and get a chance to have some incredible swag. You can see everybody's wearing Wakelet gear, and then you can become a community leader, an ambassador, and that kind of thing. But it all starts with joining the community first. I love also, Batul, that you have shared Wakelet in ways that empower the rest of your class, and it's very amazing to see a student including your teammates and your classmates within your projects and creating clubs. Such an amazing idea. Really, really warms my heart to see that you're, creating little communities within your own school. Absolutely love that. Photo albums, incredible. And also that idea of capturing things and having those memories just in case people missed out, to be able to actually share with them. Really cool for events and webinars as well. Just before we go, I'm going to share my screen once and just see if it works. I hope that it works. Because, okay, hopefully everybody should see this. Can you see this? It should say the Lego challenge. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So what we did at Wakelet was just to cheer everybody up. We sent everybody a box of Lego, and we got everybody to basically create something, and then we used reactions to vote on which Lego creation was the best. So there's some really fun things that you can do using Wakelet with your class, and then bringing like the physical world into the digital world. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because it looks like my computer is literally about to crash. I don't know what is going on with Zoom today. Give me a second. Okay, am I back? Can you hear me? Okay, great. That's scary. The whole resolution on my computer changed. I worried for a second there.
I had the
Okay,
same thing this morning. My laptop just completely died, and I was like, this isn't good when you're doing a live event.
yeah, it's something to do with Zoom, I think. Something's happened, I'm not quite sure. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for the people who have joined us in the chat today. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Sumida. Thank you, Batul. I really appreciate it. I know it has gone on a little bit longer than planned, but hey, most of us are all still here. So thank you all so much. We're going to leave the chat open for a few more moments. So anybody who wants to share any more ideas, you've got another 3-4 minutes, I guess. And also Batul, Lee, Sumida, if you want to share your links again, feel free to do that. But thank you all so much. I really, really appreciate you joining us today, and make sure to stay tuned for the next one as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Misbah, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye, everyone.